whatever I'm saying. What's your question? According to Malay, how the King of the East and the European Union become united against Christ in his right. So look at that. Look at the picture. Who among you has saw the movie Independence Day? Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3. Who among you saw an alien invasion movie? None. No modern Independence Day. I don't know the part of Independence Day. Maybe other movies. So it's like this. Look at the illustration. When Jesus Christ comes, and there are warring nations going against each other, what do you think is in their minds when they see Jesus Christ coming down? Will they be thinking of Jesus Christ, Brother Gerald?
No.
What will they be thinking?
Kalaban.
What? Do not ignore So, what will they think when Jesus Christ comes? When they see Him coming down? Aliens. Okay. How many of you understand the word aliens? Raise your hands. Only 1 and 2? Brother Patrick, do you know what alien is?
Yes.
Brother Raprak, do you know what alien is?
I know that you
Huh? Have you seen one?
malaglag. The alien is in my side.
Okay.
No.
So, the world today is conditioned to thinking that aliens exist. Instead of believing in God, they would rather believe in aliens. Now, when Jesus Christ comes back, they're not going to think about Jesus Christ, they're going to think of aliens. And did you know that China has its own fair share of alien phenomena? They have many sightings. They saw a city in the sky. Brother, Sister Ann, could you flash a picture of the China? In China, they saw a city in the sky, literally. It's a real picture. I saw that in a... Could you find that picture? So it's as though there's a spaceship above in China, a city in the sky. So look at this. She's gonna flash about that.
You mean to say that unidentified flying object is not true?
It's not true, you say?
Yeah, it's not true that UFO.
It's true. What they see are real. It's not made up. And it's deceiving the world to think. It's conditioning their mind. Like terrorism today. It conditions the mind for the mark of the beast in the tribulation. Right now we have the mark, but the mark today is Nicolaitanism. But Nicolaitanism in tribulation, that mark will get you killed or get you sealed for hell. Now, alien visions, not vision. Yeah, that's it, precisely. We choose this, choose that picture.
Can make it a zone.
Yeah, that picture is. That is a real picture taken in China. You see that? They saw that up in the sky. How can there be buildings up in the sky? They don't build buildings as higher than the clouds. It looks like a spaceship. That's a real picture in China.
Oh, China?
Oh, that's right.
It's not because I'm Chinese, because I saw it in ancient aliens. They're not showing things that is a hoax. They're showing real pictures and many eyewitnesses of the phenomena. There's another phenomena in Jerusalem. There was a UFO that went down on Mosque of Omar. Could you flash that picture again? UFO in Jerusalem. That's a real... It's not fake. Many saw that. I don't know the television show faking. You are in the 1970s. That's Beijing. He's speaking. Okay, never mind. Jerusalem UFO. So while she's opening it up, now why are UFOs appearing on those places? It's preparing the mindset of the world. When they go to war, they will become united. Oh, actually, there's a video that if you have downloaded, you can see how the video came down and went up. When people were taking pictures, they went up. Jerusalem video. In Mosque of Omar. Mosque of Omar. Go down. Look for Mosque of Omar. Last year. Actually, there are many sightings. Jerusalem video. What the other one? Go down. I saw it. There. In the right side. Right hand corner. That's Jerusalem. No, go down. The middle. Right. Go right. There. Please choose the picture. Yes. Choose the picture. You see that? Oh, it's night time when the UFO came, and they took a picture of that. You know what the UFO did? It also took a picture. It flashed some lights. It flashed several lights down on the mosque. Then suddenly it went up. You can look that up in the YouTube video. They have lots of it. I watched that. It was also shown in ancient aliens. So now the question is why? Why are there so many phenomena of that? So that's Jerusalem. The UFO went down directly at the head part of the mosque and flashed several lights, then went up. Now, this is what I can say. What is God doing today? God's allowing those alien creatures, angelic beings, to show UFOs. It's preparing the thoughts and minds. So, the question, how is it that two warring factions will unite versus a common enemy? We have it today in ISIS. The United States is trying to unite together different tribes that are warring against each other versus ISIS. So, the same thing in Armageddon, during Armageddon, when Europe and China clash at the valley of Megiddo, Jezreel, also included.
Yes, Jezreel.
Why will Jesus Christ suddenly appear? If they will be allowed to finish their battle, the world will be annihilated.
Amen.
So the Bible said, unless those days will be shortened, no flesh shall be left saved. But the Bible said, the earth will tumble over, a great curse devouring the earth, and few men left. So if there will be few men left here on earth, that means to say, Christ intervened. Matthew 24. But for the sake of the elect, those days shall be shortened. That means to say, Jesus Christ will intervene so that not all of you will die. As though everyone will be left behind. Okay. They should complain, they understand. No, I don't want to be left behind. So, the two warring factions will combine and fight against Jesus Christ, and they will be destroyed by the Lamb. Jesus Christ's destruction is not nuclear, but it's also devastating. But when they destroy each other, nuclear, you couldn't live here on earth for 1,000 years. But if Jesus Christ destroys this earth by asteroids, by meteors, by volcanoes, by calamities, this earth would still be livable.
By calamity. You said that when Jesus Christ came, no one to recognize, and the people believe that he is alien. Is that right? No one can recognize when the Son of Man coming.
The armies would not recognize him.
Amen.
So there are many people right now, maybe young people also, God is far from their hearts. So what is happening in the world, and some of our young people, God is far from their hearts. When Sister Oyang sees a supernatural being coming over, she's not going to think of God, oh, that's Jesus Christ. She might think it's an alien.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to be taken away in a spaceship. We're going to be abducted. So alien abductions fit perfectly the translation, the catching away, the rapture. You see how it parallels together? We're nearing the end. So those whose heart are far, they are those prone to be self-deception. Okay. No more questions? Okay. Brother Eric. Brother Eric, are you referring to the 7 continents of the 10 toes?
Yes.
So whoever said it's 7 continents must have had his toes chopped off. Why? It's 10 toes, not 7. So, in end-time technology newspapers, they say 10 geopolitical areas of the world. So it's not just 7, it's 10. So from the 10 tribes became the European Union, but this does not only represent the European Union. This represents the whole world, the dominion of men in the whole world.
So I rephrase my question. So what was the whole world unified in order to they against the
For a short while, 1 hour with the beast, they are unified against the 2 prophets. The Antichrist will take opportunity that Russia has been defeated, the whole world plunged into chaos, and the Pope will intervene for a peace process. And when the 2 prophets arrive on the scene, he's going to further use that intrigue of the 2 prophets to go against them, to unify the whole world against them. That's why these 10 toes, even though they're iron and clay, they do not mix together perfectly.
Why?
Because they will be broken up, easily broken up. This is what's going to happen. This one's going to wind down. When the whole world is united against the 2 prophets and 144,000 and their followers, foolish that became wise, in the tribulation, they are united only by hatred. Similar to us, many differing groups against each other are united against us. So, they are united against the 2 prophets, 144,000, the wise that became foolish, the foolish that became wise. So, when they are united, that is when you see a temporary, very temporary alliance. But in the last week and the last half of the tribulation period, even that alliance will be disrupted. And there will be war. That's why there are 2 feet here. Because eventually that's preparing for Armageddon. So you see the 2 feet here? There will be East and West. Europe and Asia, not just saying China. China is just one of them. We have India. We have Philippines. Philippines should join, right? Japan. Oh, today let's make a strong Asian bloc. So, versus Europe and United States is out of the picture. When they clash in Armageddon, they represent the 2 feet. Now, why would they clash? Because in the middle of the week, the papacy would have been removed from Europe. So, the woman will be killed by the beast that rode him, that she rode upon by the beast. And that woman is the Vatican. So, the papacy will transfer its headquarters to Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, she will be pressed on both sides. You read this in Daniel 11. She will be pressed by Daniel 11, king of the north and king of the south. The one that will be pressed in between, it will be pressed between Europe and China. And before they could accomplish to take over Jerusalem, Jesus Christ comes to intervene. But they are having their war in Armageddon, in the valley of Jezreel, and the war is in the process when Christ comes. So they were never successful to remove the papacy there. But they're going to destroy the whole world. But they will be interrupted in destroying the world. So, interrupting the destruction of the world, that is when the rock comes from a high mountain, destroying the feet and the whole statue, ending the government of man. The kingdom of this world is become the kingdom of our Lord and Jesus Christ. Revelation 11:15. So, and that rock becomes a big mountain. That's millennium. Reign of Christ. Okay, wala na, no? So, next part 2 from last week. Was it last week, Sister Jella? I talked about Revelation of the Woman.
Last week.
So, this is part 2. There are things I failed to mention last week. What I failed to mention was the wilderness,
Hindi na mabubuhay.
where the woman would flee. Oh, this is permanent. Okay, now, the wilderness, I said last week, I quoted from Brother Jackson. He said the United States, which I referred to as the woman church, not the woman Israel. Brother Branham mentioned 2 applications of the woman. There is Israel and there is the church. Brother Jackson understands only the Israel. Okay? Brother God only understands Israel. So when he read from Brother Frank, Israel and the church, he said, oh, very confusing. Wrong. Well, I'd like to say, if you understand parallelism, there's truth in that. There's truth in that. So, when you apply the United States as the wilderness where the woman fleeth, it is correct as far as the church is concerned. Because before the United States came into being, they were trying to flee the dragon in the Dark Ages.
Amen.
Question.
How the USA
Became the wilderness.
become the wilderness of the
new world.
Brother Jackson's US or mine?
Brother Jackson.
Mine. Okay. Because that is exactly how the United States was formed.
Amen.
The reason they started a colony there, take note, it was a Spanish discovery.
yes.
Not Magellan. Columbus.
Christopher
So,
Columbus.
it should be theirs. But the British came along and took over. Now, it became an opportunity for Protestant believers to flee from the dragon. The dragon at the time is the
Pope.
Catholic Church. There was war in Europe. It was devastating. So, they had to flee for their newfound faith.
Newfound land.
And their newfound faith became strong. United States became a bastion for the gospel. Bastion of democracy, but that's Masonic. But bastion for the gospel also speaks like a lamb. There was a time it was used as a lamb. United States became the refuge, a sanctuary for the Reformation Christians.
Reformation age.
Reformation Christians, the Plymouth Brethren, the Mayflower, they were able to secure a home which became a strong nation.
Amen.
Now, that is as far as Brother Jackson's United States as wilderness is concerned. The woman as the church fled. And it's also fulfilled the travel of the gospel from east to west. Facing the camera, east to west. Okay. So, now, let's talk about Israel. This is what I failed to mention last week. Now, if the woman is Israel, what is the wilderness where she will flee to?
Where?
There are lots of scriptures. I hope they could search. They could search the. Maybe we could search in the internet because I searched it and there was no internet then. I gathered lots of scriptures. The first thing I learned is from the comics. You know Crusaders comics publications. You know that. she had, in the comics, she said, the woman fled in the wilderness, which is somewhere in Judea, somewhere in Israel. She did not flee somewhere far out. She just fled somewhere beside their place. Pastor Miligonza disagreed with me. Said they have modern technology to search you out.
Amen.
Judea plea.
Luke 20.
Now, this is just the verse that I remember, but there are lots of verses.
Judean wilderness.
They will flee in Petra.
Petra.
But it's not Petra written in the Bible. Whatever that's in the Old Testament, you look for that. Okay?
Rock.
Now, but here, in Luke chapter 21, Jesus Christ said, when you shall see armies compassing Jerusalem, let him that is in Judea flee to the mountains. That is the mountains of Judea. They're supposed to flee in the wilderness somewhere in Judea, Judean wilderness. I'm talking of Israel application in the last week of Daniel. In the last half of the week of Daniel, it's not the 144 that will flee. It is that nation Israel. Let's break down the identity of Israel. Israel Israel has two sides. The one that will tie the knot with the Antichrist is the political Israel. The other side is spiritual Israel. The Antichrist like what happened to the Maccabees,
Yes.
what happened to Antiochus Epiphanes, what happened to Titus. They tried to conquer the city centers, Jerusalem itself and many other cities. How about the wilderness? The Romans,
Bar Kokhba.
the Greeks, are not going after them in the wilderness because they held the stronghold. Same in the Philippines. Have you heard some stories in the war where Japanese forces occupied the city centers, but in the provinces, they have no control there? You know about that story?
Yes.
So guerrillas were able to survive.
In the mountain.
Yeah, in the mountains. Same story here. So, the woman Israel, they are in the same level as the sheep nations. You know the sheep nations? I will separate the goats from the sheep. They are Gentiles that will be repopulate the millennium.
Yes.
And this Israel woman is on the same level as the sheep nations.
Amen.
Aside from the woman, there is the diaspora of Israel. You know diaspora?
Yes.
Then you can say United States, not just United States. All over the globe, there are Jews that are not yet in Israel.
Amen.
They are Orthodox Jews. They are the Pharisees before. You say you don't have to go to the temple to worship. You can build your own synagogue, like a church. So they existed in different parts of the globe. They had no desire to come home. Those who desire to come home in Israel are Zionist Jews. And these Zionist Jews will comprise the woman Israel that will flee to the wilderness. The woman Israel, which is the diaspora Israel, they could very well be the wilderness, like the United States and other countries. What do you want to say?
Are they the 10 tribes of Israel? The diaspora.
Both.
Who is the
majority of diaspora is the two tribes. Majority is the Jews.
Who are the
Now, there are Jews that are part of the Zionist movement. There are Jews that are spread all across the globe. Now, let's talk about the 10 northern tribes. The 10 northern
Lost tribes,
tribes,
the lost
they
tribes.
did not spread far.
Why?
Why? When Assyria took them to captivity, the known world was just in the Middle East. So
Oh.
some of them were in Ethiopia, some of them were in Russia, some of them were in
Zimbabwe.
Africa, some of them were in the Middle East. Iraq, Iran. The
Libya.
farthest they can go, India.
India.
China.
Yes. China.
But would they go to the United States? At that time, they never knew the United States,
Yes.
except the Vikings.
Vikings, yes.
It's not spread out. So, we're talking about when was the 10 nation Israel taken to captivity? During, if you look at history, it was 600
BC.
BC.
Okay. The known
Very
world.
far out.
Yes.
So they did not reach the United States.
Yes.
Except the Mormons teaching.
Teach.
They reached the United States. Now,
Moro na eh.
so mostly what comprises the diaspora are Jews, those who are in father countries. Now let's get back to Israel.
Okay.
Here, in Luke 21, it coincides with Matthew chapter 24. It's in the end time. And when Christ said, when you see the forces that try to surround Jerusalem, flee to the wilderness. Now let me ask you, when was that?
70 AD.
Under Titus. So, Jesus Christ gave the prophecy, the Christians fled. Now, it foreshadows Israel receiving the message from the two prophets, receiving the message from the 144,000. They're gonna flee the Antichrist. And who's gonna surround Jerusalem? There will be Armageddon. Okay, so that's just a shortcut.